Big lie or big steal? Nearly 1 in 3 Americans thinks the 2020 presidential election was stolen, despite the major media claiming it was the most secure election ever. Dale Hurd explains why a growing number of voters are demanding that their states conduct election audits.
Watch mainstream media news reports about claims the 2020 election was stolen, and you'll first be greeted with a banner that says such claims are false, bogus, or the big lie. Even the former head of cybersecurity for the federal government under Donald Trump says 2020 was the most secure election in U.S. history. Christopher Krebs was eventually fired by Trump.
What's really developed is two different realities. It's the one we live in that's based on truth and trust, and the other that's based on whatever the former president says.
But a recent Rasmussen poll shows almost 1 in 3 American voters now think the election was stolen. If Joe Biden did win fair and square, it was one of the strangest and most improbable victories in presidential election history, one that went opposite to trusted election metrics that go back decades. There's a saying that where there's smoke, there's fire. And when it comes to claims that something was seriously amiss with the 2020 election results, there certainly seems to be a lot of smoke. Where's the smoke? For starters, thousands of sworn affidavits alleging election fraud or irregularities, given under penalty of perjury. New Mexico State University law professor David Clements, a former assistant district attorney on the southern border, says the evidence of wrongdoing in the 2020 elections is far stronger than the drug cases he prosecuted.
I've never had a case with this much evidence, with this degree of quality to the evidence in my entire career.
Clements is assisting a volunteer army of thousands of concerned Americans meeting on the app Telegram under the name America First Audit, building a case for election fraud under the leadership of General Michael Flynn. Another leader of the group, former Army Captain Seth Keshel, an elections expert who correctly picked all 50 states in the 2016 election, says he's uncovered at least 8 million excess votes for Joe Biden. Votes that should not exist.
It's easiest to find in states that track voters, register voters by party. And you can see the trend line where Biden's projected vote total should wind up. I estimate generously for Biden, and you still wind up with a total that's beyond logic.
Keshel says his calculations showed Trump won Pennsylvania, Georgia, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Arizona, and Nevada. Whether or not that's actually the case, we do know that Trump carried 18 of 19 bellwether counties, which have correctly predicted the winner of every presidential election since 1980. And yet somehow Trump lost. CBN News election analyst John Waggy.
So these are the counties that we look at. I've been studying these things for more than 40 years, and what we look at are the counties where the presidential winner comes out on top every time.
Trump also carried 4 bellwether states, Florida, North Carolina, Ohio, and Iowa. But Keshel says the most startling thing to him from the election was that Trump won Florida but not Pennsylvania and Michigan. The 3 states have trended together since 1932.
88 years in a row, so 22 consecutive elections, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan trend together. And then this year is the one where they no longer trend together.
Other indicators that showed Trump should have won, his overwhelming strength in the primaries.
Trump was not a weak incumbent, regardless of what the media puts out there. Trump had one of the highest shares of primary vote ever, 94%.
Another indicator for a Trump victory was his gaining a record 11 million more votes in 2020 than he did in 2016.
From my perspective as an analyst, things have never added up about this election. I mean, Joe Biden campaigned from his basement, and he finishes with far more votes than his predecessor, Barack Obama. It doesn't make sense.
Dale Hurd joins us with more. Dale, you had a lot of information, I might add disinformation, to wade through in preparing for this report. Of course, many people don't want to see election audits done because they don't think there's anything to these fraud claims. But you just laid out some of the concerns. Where are audits underway now? Which states are expected to start them soon?
Well, I counted some 6 states where they've either been done or they're fighting over it in the courts or they want to do it. Maricopa County, Arizona, of course, is one of the most famous. Fulton County, Georgia, which is being exposed, is so corrupt that the state legislature would like to take over the county election board. New Hampshire, Michigan, Wisconsin. Often there's a pattern where you have a Republican legislature and you have big Democratic strongholds, and they frankly, don't have great track records. And they want to see, come on, was this a fair election or not? And hey, can I just say that if Joe Biden won fair and square, why is anyone afraid of the audit?
But even if they find miscalculations, ballot fraud, it's probably unlikely, Dale, that electoral votes will be rescinded from the Electoral College vote and a new election called, right?
It should be done. And I think when Congress doesn't do it, because I agree with you, I don't think Congress will do anything. I think the 12th Amendment of the Constitution is in play. And who is going to enforce the 12th Amendment? That you need a certain amount of electoral votes to be president. And if you don't have them, you're not president. I don't know. I don't know who's going to defend the Constitution.
The attitude is, well, Biden's been in for more than 6 months now, and let's just make sure it's fair next time. But that's not really justice, is it? QAnon followers predict the Supreme Court's going to step in and nullify the election, and Trump will be reinstated as president. And that seems highly unlikely. The Supreme Court's already made several decisions rejecting election challenges. So, Dale, what's the likely outcome? What's likely to happen here?
I hate to tell you, I don't know, but I don't want to speculate. I wish someone would stand up. We have an epidemic of cowardice that has swept over this nation, and I wish someone would stand up and defend the Constitution, and that's something that we all need to pray about. Lord, please put the men and women up there who will defend this nation.
Well, what I always pray for is righteousness and godliness in our government.
That's right.
Dale, another excellent job. Thank you for that informative report. I guess we'll see what happens in Arizona soon. And thanks for providing those additional insights.
Thank you, Gary.